Why do some people seem to have it all figured out? Let it breathe. They wake up with purpose. They handle pressure without breaking. They build great careers, meaningful relationships, and deep inner peace, all at the same time. And then, there are people who work just as hard, maybe even harder, and yet they feel stuck, frustrated, like they're running on a treadmill that never moves forward. So what is the difference? Is it luck? Is it talent? Is it connections? Is it money? No. The difference is their habits. Not just what they do on the surface, but how they think, how they see the world, and how they respond to it. And today, we are going deep into one of the most important books ever written about human effectiveness. A book that has sold over 40 million copies and changed the lives of presidents, CEOs, teachers, students, parents, and ordinary people all around the world. This is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you won't just know these habits, you'll feel them. And if you truly apply even one of them, your life will never be the same again. Before we dive into the habits, let me introduce you to the man behind them. Stephen Richards Covey was born in 1932 in Salt Lake City, Utah. He wasn't just an author. He was an educator, a philosopher, a leadership expert, and above all, a deeply thoughtful human being. He earned his MBA from Harvard and his doctorate from Brigham Young University, where he later taught organizational behavior. But here's what made Covey different from every other self-help writer of his time. He wasn't interested in quick fixes or clever tricks. He wasn't selling you a shortcut. He spent years studying literature, history, psychology, philosophy, going all the way back to America's founding era. And he noticed something alarming. He saw that sometime around the early 1900s, the entire world of self-help shifted. It stopped being about who you are and started being about how you appear. Books began teaching people how to smile more convincingly, how to win arguments, how to project confidence, even if it was fake. Covey called this the personality ethic, the idea that success is about your image, your technique, your social skills. But Covey believed deeply in something different. He called it the character ethic, the idea that true, lasting success can only come from integrity, courage, humility, patience, and justice. From who you are at your core. His message was simple but radical. You cannot fake your way to greatness. You have to grow your way there. And that growth begins with 7 fundamental habits. Before we talk about the habits, Covey wants us to understand one foundational idea. He calls it the paradigm shift. Now, the word paradigm sounds complicated, but it is actually very simple. The paradigm is just a map, a mental map of how you see the world. Covey tells a beautiful story about this. Imagine you are on the New York subway one Sunday morning. It is quiet, peaceful. People are reading, resting. Then a man gets on with his children, and immediately, chaos breaks loose. The kids are screaming, running around, throwing things. Everyone is uncomfortable, but the man just sits there, eyes closed, completely unresponsive. You get more and more irritated. Finally, you turn to the man and say, "Sir, your children are disturbing everyone. Can you not control them?" The man slowly opens his eyes, as if waking from a dream, and says, "Oh, you are right. I am sorry. We just came from the hospital where their mother died an hour ago. I do not know what to think, and I guess they do not either." In that one moment, everything changes. The noise does not change. The kids do not change. But you change because you now see the situation completely differently. That is a paradigm shift, and Covey's entire book is built on one radical claim. If you want to change your life, you do not start by changing your behavior. You start by changing how you see. Most people try to change their habits through willpower alone. They force themselves to be more productive, more disciplined, more patient. And it works for a week, maybe two. Then they snap back to who they were. Because you cannot sustain change that comes from the outside. It has to come from the inside. Covey organizes the habits into two groups. Habits 1, 2, and 3 are about your private victory, your relationship with yourself. Habits 4, 5, and 6 are your public victory, your relationship with others. And habit 7 ties everything together. Think of it like building a house. You do not start with the roof. You start with the foundation. Your private victory is that foundation. Habit 1. Be proactive. You are the author of your own life. Let me start with a question. Think about the last time something went wrong in your life. Maybe your boss criticized you unfairly. Maybe someone you loved let you down. Maybe a plan you made completely fell apart. What was your first reaction? Did you blame someone? Did you complain? Did you feel like a victim of your circumstances? If you did, and most of us do, then you were being reactive. And Covey says this is the single biggest trap that holds people back. Reactivity, the habit of letting the outside world control how you think, feel, and act. So what is the opposite of reactive? Proactive. Now here is where most people get this wrong. Being proactive does not mean being aggressive or pushy. It does not mean ignoring your emotions or pretending everything is fine. Being proactive means understanding one fundamental truth about human beings. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space lies your freedom and your power to choose. Covey tells us about Viktor Frankl, an Austrian psychiatrist who was imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps during World War II. He lost everything. His family, his freedom, his dignity. The Nazis could control every aspect of his physical existence. But they could never control one thing. His mind, his inner freedom, his choice of how to respond. Frankl wrote later, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." Covey used this as the heart of Habit 1. If Viktor Frankl could find freedom in a concentration camp, then surely we can find it in the everyday frustrations of our lives. Covey asks you to imagine two circles, one inside the other. The outer circle is your circle of concern. These are all the things you worry about. The economy, the weather, what other people think of you, global news, your health, your past mistakes. There's a lot in that circle, and most of it you cannot directly control. The inner circle is your circle of influence. These are the things you can actually do something about. Your attitude, your effort, how you treat people, the choices you make today. Reactive people spend most of their time and energy in their circle of concern. They vent, they worry, they blame, and their circle of influence slowly shrinks. Proactive people focus their energy on their circle of influence. They work on what they can control. They take action. And over time, their circle of influence actually grows. Now think about your life. Where do you spend most of your mental energy? Covey gives us something very practical. Pay attention to your language. Language reveals your mindset. If you hear yourself saying things like, "I cannot," or "I have to," or "if only they would," or "there is nothing I can do," those are reactive phrases. They give your power away. Replace them with "I choose to," "I prefer," "I will," "let me see what I can do." These are proactive phrases. They reclaim your power. Start with just 30 days. For the next 30 days, whenever something frustrates you, pause. Take a breath. Ask, "What can I do about this?" That pause, that tiny gap, is where your entire life can change. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. Live by design, not by default. Covey opens this habit with what might be the most powerful mental exercise in the entire book. He asks you to do something uncomfortable. He asks you to imagine your own funeral. Picture the room. The people who love you are gathered. There are 4 speakers. 1 from your family, 1 from your closest friends, 1 from your work, and 1 from your community. Each one stands up and speaks about the kind of person you were. Now here is the real question. What do you want them to say? Not what would they say if you died today, but what do you want them to say? What kind of person do you want to have been? Most people have never thought about this. They are so caught up in the rush of daily life, emails, deadlines, social media, arguments, distractions, that they never stop to ask, where am I actually going? Covey says all things are created twice. First in the mind, then in reality. An architect draws a blueprint before a single brick is laid. A writer outlines a story before a single word is written. A pilot files a flight plan before the plane takes off. But most of us go through life without a blueprint. We react to whatever comes at us. We let other people's agendas fill our days. We work hard, but at what? Covey says it is possible to be very busy climbing a ladder, only to reach the top and realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. The most powerful tool Covey offers in Habit 2 is the personal mission statement. This is essentially your constitution. Your fundamental declaration of who you are and what you stand for. It is not a goal list. Goals change. A mission statement is about values and principles. It answers questions like, what kind of person do I want to become? What contributions do I want to make? What do I value most in life? And am I actually living by those values? Covey spent a year writing his own mission statement. You do not have to take that long, but it should be intentional, thoughtful, not written in 5 minutes while checking your phone. Here is the key insight. When you have a clear sense of who you are and what you stand for, day-to-day decisions become much easier. You are no longer blown about by every opinion, every pressure, every trend. You have an anchor. This week, find a quiet hour. Sit with yourself. No phone, no music. And write down your answers to these 3 questions. First, at the end of my life, what 3 words do I want people to use to describe me? Second, what is something I am doing right now that is not aligned with those words? Third, what is one small thing I could do differently starting tomorrow? This is not just an exercise. This is the beginning of living intentionally. Habit 3, put first things first. Master your time, master your life. If Habit 1 is about taking control, and Habit 2 is about knowing where you are going, then Habit 3 is about how you actually get there. It is about managing your time in a way that aligns with your deepest values. Covey introduces what he calls the time management matrix, and it is one of the most clarifying tools you will ever encounter. Everything you do in life falls into one of 4 categories: based on two axes: urgency, meaning is it pressing right now? And importance, meaning does it actually matter for your goals and values? The first category is urgent and important. These are your crises and deadlines. They are necessary, but if you live here too long, you burn out. The second category is not urgent but important. This is planning, growth, and relationships. This is the sweet spot. This is where highly effective people invest most of their time. The third category is urgent but not important. These are interruptions and busy work. It feels urgent, but it is not actually important. Avoid it as much as possible. The fourth category is not urgent and not important. Scrolling, mindless television, pure time waste. Minimize it ruthlessly. Now here is the critical insight. Most people spend their entire lives bouncing between categories 1 and 3, dealing with crises, and then being interrupted by things that feel urgent but do not actually matter. They rarely, if ever, spend meaningful time in category 2. Planning, thinking, building relationships, taking care of their health, learning, growing. These are the things that prevent crises from happening in the first place. Think about this. If you exercised regularly, you would have fewer health crises. If you maintained your relationships, you would face fewer personal breakdowns. If you planned your work, you would have fewer last-minute panics. The key to habit 3 is learning to say yes to your most important priorities and no to everything else. Covey says the enemy of the best is often the good. We fill our lives with good things and leave no room for the best things. At the start of each week, before anything else, ask yourself, what are the 2 or 3 things that, if I did them this week, would make the biggest positive difference in my life? Schedule those first. Protect them like appointments you cannot miss. Everything else works around them. Highly effective people are not more productive because they do more things. They are more productive because they do the right things. And just like that, you have won your private victory. You are proactive. You have direction. You manage your time with intention. You are in charge of you. But now comes the harder part, because life is not lived alone. We work with people. We love people. We disagree with people. We need people. And this is where habits 4, 5, and 6 come in. The habits of interdependence. The habits that transform not just you, but every relationship you have. Habit 4, think win-win. Success is not a competition. Let me ask you something. When you are in a conflict with someone, a colleague, a partner, a family member, what is your instinct? Is it to win the argument? To prove you are right? To protect yourself? Most of us were raised in a world of competition. School gave grades that ranked us against each other. Sports created winners and losers. Business taught us that market share is a pie. If someone else gets more, I get less. This created a deeply embedded belief in our minds. Life is a zero-sum game. For me to win, you have to lose. Covey says this is one of the most damaging paradigms a person can carry. Because the truth is, most of life is not a zero-sum game. Most of life is about cooperation, not competition. Covey identifies 6 ways people typically approach interactions. The first is win-lose. I win, you lose. The competitive mindset. Most common in families, offices, and politics. The second is lose-win. I give in. The doormat. Keeps the peace short-term but breeds resentment long-term. The third is lose-lose. We both go down. The spite mindset. If I cannot have it, neither can you. The fourth is simply win. I focus only on what I want, indifferent to your outcome. The fifth is win-win or no deal. We find a solution that works for both, or we respectfully agree to walk away. And the sixth, the ideal, is win-win. We actively seek solutions that benefit both parties. Win-win is not about being weak or endlessly compromising. It is about having the courage to say, I care about my needs and your needs. Let us find a way that honors both. Think about the best relationships in your life, the ones where you feel safe, respected, and energized. Those relationships are built on a win-win foundation. Covey introduces another brilliant idea here, the emotional bank account. Every relationship you have is like a bank account. Every time you keep a promise, show kindness, listen carefully, or admit a mistake, you make a deposit. Every time you break a promise, dismiss someone's feelings, or are dishonest or unkind, you make a withdrawal. When the balance is high, there is trust. There is forgiveness. There is open communication. When the balance is low, even small misunderstandings become major conflicts. Now think about the most important relationships in your life. What is the current balance of that emotional bank account? The next time you enter a difficult conversation, try this. Before stating what you want, ask yourself, what does this person also need from this situation? Then actively try to find a solution that addresses both. Not a compromise where both people get less. A creative solution where both people get more. Habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. The lost art of deep listening. Of all 7 habits, this one might be the most immediately transformative and the most neglected. Here is a scenario I want you to think about. You are having a conversation with someone who is upset. Maybe it is your partner, your child, your friend, your colleague. They are telling you about a problem they are facing. What are you doing while they talk? If you are honest, really honest, you are probably thinking about what you are going to say next. You are preparing your response. You are filtering their words through your own experience. You are waiting for a gap in their speaking so you can jump in with advice, or reassurance, or your own story. You are not truly listening, and neither is almost anyone else. Covey identifies 5 levels of listening. Level 1 is ignoring, not listening at all. Level 2 is pretending. Yeah, right. The classic phone-in-hand response. Level 3 is selective listening. You hear only what you want to hear. Level 4 is attentive listening. You are focused, but still filtering everything through your own frame of reference. Level 5 is empathic listening. You listen with the intent to truly understand, not just the words, but the feeling and meaning behind them. Empathic listening is rare, and that is precisely why it is so powerful. When someone feels truly heard, not just tolerated, not managed, but genuinely heard, something extraordinary happens. They open up, they trust you, and they become far more willing to hear you. This is the beautiful paradox of Habit 5. You gain far more influence by listening first than by talking first. Covey uses a perfect analogy. Imagine going to a doctor who listens to you for 30 seconds, then writes a prescription. You would be alarmed. You would not trust it. Yet that is exactly what we do in conversations. We diagnose before we understand. We give advice before we know the full picture. A great doctor listens first, asks questions, examines carefully, then prescribes. We must do the same with the people in our lives. In your next important conversation, set yourself one rule. You cannot respond with your own opinion or advice until you can state the other person's perspective back to them, and they confirm that you have got it right. This will feel uncomfortable at first. You might have to ask, so what I am hearing is that right? Or, help me understand, do you mean? But the results will astonish you. Habit 6. Synergize. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. If you have been applying the first 5 habits, something remarkable is now possible. You are proactive and self-aware. You know where you are going. You manage your time wisely. You think win-win. You listen deeply. And now you are ready for something truly extraordinary. Synergy. Synergy is the idea that when two people work together with mutual respect and creative openness, they can produce something that neither of them could have produced alone. Not 1 + 1 = 2, but 1 + 1 = 10, or 100. Here is a simple example. Imagine two people are looking at the same landscape. One sees a forest. The other sees farmland. If they argue about who is right, nothing gets created. But if they truly respect each other's perspective and ask, what if both views are valid? What could we build together? Suddenly you have an entirely new solution. A sustainable farm within a forest. Something neither person imagined alone. Covey says, the key to synergy is valuing differences. Not tolerating them. Not just accepting them. Actively valuing them. Because your differences are not obstacles to good work. They are the raw material of great work. Think about every great collaboration in history. The Beatles, Jobs and Wozniak. The greatest achievements of humanity have almost always been synergistic. Born from the meeting of different minds, different strengths, different ways of seeing. Covey says synergy is scary for a lot of people because it requires you to let go of control. You do not know exactly where the conversation will go. You cannot predict the outcome. But that uncertainty, that openness, is precisely where the magic lives. The next time you are in a meeting, a brainstorm, or even a disagreement, try entering with this mindset. My way is not the only way. And together we might discover a better way. Stay curious. Ask questions. Be genuinely excited by ideas that are different from yours. And watch what happens. Habit 7. Sharpen the saw. Renew yourself. You are your greatest asset. Covey ends with a story. Imagine you are walking through a forest and you come across a man desperately sawing at a tree. He looks exhausted. He has been at it for hours. The saw is making almost no progress. You walk up and say, "That looks exhausting. Why do you not take a break and sharpen your saw?" And he snaps back, "I do not have time to sharpen the saw. I am too busy sawing." This is how most of us live our lives. So busy doing that we never stop to renew, restore, and strengthen ourselves. And so over time, we become less and less effective. Not because we are working less hard, but because the tool we are working with, ourselves, is becoming blunt. Habit 7 is about continuous renewal across 4 dimensions of life. The first dimension is physical: exercise, nutrition, rest, and stress management. Your body is the engine of everything you do. If the engine breaks down, nothing else works. The second dimension is mental: reading, learning, writing, and deep thinking. Keep your mind sharp. Read great books. Challenge your thinking. Never stop learning. The third dimension is social and emotional: building meaningful relationships and serving others. Humans need connection. Isolation weakens us. Service to others reminds us why we are here. The fourth dimension is spiritual, clarifying your values, meditation, prayer, time in nature. Not necessarily religious, but the need to connect with what is deepest and most meaningful in you. This is where most people fail. They pour everything into work and neglect everything else, their health, their relationships, their inner life. And then they burn out. They break down. They wonder why success feels so hollow. Covey's answer is simple. You cannot give what you do not have. You cannot lead others if you cannot lead yourself. You cannot be present for the people you love if you are running on empty. You cannot sustain excellence if you never renew. Pick one dimension that you have been neglecting. Just one. Maybe it is physical. You have not exercised in months. Maybe it is mental. You cannot remember the last book you read. Maybe it is spiritual. You have lost touch with what truly matters to you. Choose that one dimension. Commit to a small, daily renewal practice in that area for the next 30 days. Not a big transformation. A small, consistent act. A 20-minute walk. 10 pages of a great book. 5 minutes of quiet reflection in the morning. Well, consistent. Daily. That is how you sharpen the saw. And so we come to the end of this journey through the 7 habits. But really, this is not an end. This is an invitation. An invitation to begin. Let me quickly walk you back through what we have covered. Habit 1. Be proactive. You choose your response to life. Your power word is agency. Habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. Live by your design, not others' default. Your power word is purpose. Habit 3. Put first things first. Prioritize the important over the urgent. Your power word is integrity. Habit 4. Think win-win. Seek mutual benefit in all interactions. Your power word is abundance. Habit 5. Seek first to understand. Listen deeply before speaking. Your power word is respect. Habit 6. Synergize. Difference plus trust equals creative breakthroughs. Your power word is creativity. Habit 7. Sharpen the saw. Continuously renew yourself in all dimensions. Your power word is renewal. Covey believed something with his whole being, and I want to leave it with you now because it is the truest thing in this entire book. We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And within that experience, we get to choose who we become. These habits are not destinations. They are a compass. You will not master them in a week. You may not master them in a year. But every single day that you practice them, you become slightly more effective, slightly more peaceful, slightly more alive. And that is more than enough. If this resonated with you, if something in these habits made you stop and think about your life differently, then I ask you to do one thing right now. Just one. Pick one habit, the one that spoke to you most, and decide, not tomorrow, not next week, but today, how you will begin. Because the moment you decide to change is the moment your life actually changes. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to invest in yourself. That alone, that choice to learn and grow, says everything about who you are becoming. Keep going. The journey is worth it.